Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. As you know, we are working on tenses. Tenses are divided into three main sections: past tense, present tense, and future tense. Each of these sections has four types, and today we are focusing on the present perfect tense. It's part of the present section, and we'll break it down step by step. Don't forget, there are 11 more videos where I explain each of the other tenses, just like we're doing here today. So be sure to check them out. We use the present perfect to talk about actions that happened in an unspecified time in the past. Actions that started in the past and continue into the present. Experiences up to the present. Recent actions or changes with the present's relevance. Like all the tenses, present perfect tense has to follow a formula or a rule. We always start with the subject, add have or has, and add the past principle. Here are examples of when we use the present perfect tense as an unspecified past action. That means we don't say when it has happened. I have visited France. She has eaten sushi. An example of an action continuing into the present tense will be they have lived in London for 5 years. He has worked here since 2020. Here are some examples of experiences. Have you ever been to Japan? I have never tried skydiving. Some examples of a recently completed action. Use words like just, already, or yet. For example, she has just finished her homework. I haven't eaten yet. And then using present perfect tense as a result or a change. He has lost weight. The price of gas has gone up. It's important to remember to follow the following rules. Use have with I, you, we, they. For example, we have seen this movie. I have read that book. Use has with he, she, it. For example, he has finished his project. She has visited Paris. Past principles. Remember, all verbs are divided into two groups: regular verbs, where we add ed, for example, walk or walked, or an irregular verb use the third form, for example, go, gone, eat, eaten. Here is an example of an unspecified past. She has traveled to Japan. An example from past to present. He has lived in New York for 5 years. An example of an experience. They have tried sushi before. An example of a recent change or changes. I have just finished my homework. So now let's look how we use present perfect tense as a positive structure. Remember, all subjects take the past participle form of the verb. The formula or rule you'll follow starts with the subject, add have or has, and then past participle. For example, I have finished my homework. She has traveled to Italy. Now let's look at a negative structure. Remember, all subjects take the past participle form of the verb. You start with the subject, you add have or has, then not, and then you add the past participle. I haven't seen that movie. He hasn't called me to. Now let's take a look at present perfect tense as a question structure. Remember, all subjects take the past participle form of the verb. In this structure, we start with have or has. We then add the subject and then the past participle. Have you ever met him before? Has she finished her homework? It is very important to remember that in the English language, the verbs are divided into two: regular verbs and irregular verbs. Regular verbs form their past participle by adding d, ed, or ied to the base form. Irregular verbs do not follow a consistent pattern for their past participle forms. Each irregular verb has a unique past participle. Let's recap on some regular verbs. If the verb ends in a silent E, simply add D. For example, live, lived, hate, hated, bake, baked. Mom has baked a raspberry pie. For most verbs, simply add ed. For example, talk, talked, clean, cleaned, watch, watched. She has watched her favorite show. If the verb ends in a consonant and y, change the y to I and then add ed. For example, cry, cried, carry, carried, study, studied. He has studied English since this morning. Now let's revise some irregular verbs. Here's a list of some of the most common irregular verbs. Let's go through the list together. Be, been, begin, begun, bite, bitten, break, broken, bring, brought, build, built, buy, bought, catch, caught, come, come, cut, cut, do, done, draw, drawn, drink, drunk, drive, driven, eat, eaten, fall, fallen, feel, felt, find, found, fly, flown, get, gotten or got, give, given, go, gone, been, grow, grown, have, had, keep, kept, know, known, leave, left. Now let's have a look how we use the words for and since. Remember, for indicates the duration of time. For example, I have studied medicine for 5 years. She has played the piano for 3 years. They have worked there for 6 months. Since refers to the starting point of the action. For example, I have read 30 pages since yesterday. He has worked as a teacher since 2010. We have waited for her since 8 p.m. Great work, everyone! Now you know how to use the present perfect tense to talk about actions that started in the past and have an impact on the present. Keep practicing and you'll master it in no time. If you enjoyed this lesson, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel for more helpful English tips. See you in the next video. Happy learning!